Hi everybody, and a warm welcome back to Maple Leaf Customs. I'm Andrew, and on the bench today is a cheap toy from the dollar store, although I spent way over my budget on this, called a superhero change robot. Those with licensing rights would call it a transformer, and you know how these work. You tuck that over there and inside that goes on. I need a 5-year-old to help me out with this. But I'm going to strip away all of the yellow Lamborghini type plastic down to the bare skeleton and cover this with bare casting shells out of my Boneyard. Will it be a transformer when I'm all done? I doubt it. My hope is that it will stand up on its own without falling over. Today's build is a long way from my normal kind of thing, but it's all about trying new stuff here and having fun, so stay tuned with me, pour a cup of coffee, enjoy a little bit of jazz as I break down 9 or 10 cars that I might or might not use in this build, and see if you don't get a couple of ideas and some inspiration for something similar that you might want to try. I'm taking out all of the parts, the interiors, the dashboards, the wheels, and the steering wheels, and I'm bagging them up, and I put a label on each one of these and throw it back into the Boneyard because all I want are the bare die-cast bodies. And when I'm all done, I've got quite a collection of these, but in the future I'll be able to read the bag and know that came off of a Jaguar E-Type. Back into the ever-expanding Boneyard inventory. Today's shout-out goes to Kurbz Garage, and I invite you to go by there following the link that I left in the description and visit and get all subbed up and help Kurbz bump those numbers up a little bit because he's got an outstanding channel. I enjoy it very much, and I know that you will too. So thanks for not skipping over these community shout-outs. I really want to give everybody some exposure, and if I've made a discovery, I want to pass that on to you. I did a mass paint stripping with all the cars together, and you saw that pinkish red soup that it created. But in no time at all, they came out, and with a little brushing up, these don't have to be absolutely perfect. It's going to be kind of a sci-fi, wasteland, cyberpunk theme. Here's my bare skeleton after the Lambo plastic was stripped off, and this is what I'm going to use to build up what I'm going to call the Junkasaurus Wrecks. But first I need to remove these wheels that were part of the original transformer, and interestingly there was no way for them to come out other than to be cut off, so it was actually one of the real quality parts of this dollar store toy. And it's a super glue intensive project today. I start with the shoes. This is a Volkswagen Beetle. Again, all I'm using is the die-cast shell, and from upside down you see more super glue and baking soda, so this is going to give me a cement grip. The right foot is made out of a Mini Cooper, and I had to convert it into a Cabrio, file off some of the picks and the burrs here. And with the same process, and probably the most important step in this build, because this is the foundation. It's either going to stand or not stand based on how well these are done. More baking soda, which will feature prominently in this video. So those are cemented right in there. The ankle joints still move up and down, as do the hips, but the knees never did. And now I'm building up the body armor. There's a Mercedes on the left leg, and the E-Type is the left arm, and you can see the rotator cuff still works. So it does have some maneuverability still. Working on the right side, I realized I had to grind down the posts that hold the original die-cast to the chassis. And I save all of my metal shavings in case I need to use that, much like I would use baking soda to give a stronger bond with the superglue. I guess one of the things I've come to enjoy most about this hobby is the infinite possibilities and variety of things you can do, limited only by your imagination. In this video should be evidence that you can even use your discarded parts and bits. All of this comes out of the Boneyard. And that's why I save things, and as I said, all the interior bits that I don't use out of these go back in there. Maybe they'll come out again one day. So I haven't spent a whole lot of money on this. I'm just having fun, and this is certainly a project that evolves as it goes. One of my favorite stages is always the primer, where everything becomes one color and starts to look like the uniform machine that you want it to be. Now, I couldn't find a die-cast body that fit this breastplate, so this is the one time that I reverted back to the original plastic model Lamborghini hood, and I still had to trim that down substantially in order for these arms and shoulders to still work. And here's a tip. I don't know if I have invented this or not. I'm using a little leather punch. I actually have a set of them, and this is the second smallest size. It's a 2mm, and with an old Philadelphia cream cheese tub lid, I'm punching out tiny little holes, and here I have to just coax them back through the ejection port on the side, and I've made about 200 tiny little uniform size rivets with just the right size depth to give it some 3D relief here. Probably the most time-consuming process in all of this. I must have enjoyed a full podcast on my hobby bench while I was putting these on, but I think it gives a great effect. It was sort of a Skynet cyber machine. Here comes some resin-printed heavy weaponry on the arms, and again, these move so they can be pointed in the right direction. One more piece on the right shoulder. I've taped off very loosely some of the inside skeleton that I don't want to be painted, and this is my top coat. It's just a silver, and it's not a dense coverage, pretty light. I want a little bit of black to show through, sort of an aged look. And now I'm going back in with a fine detail brush and covering any overspray that hit the endoskeleton. So it is flat black again, kind of fades into the background, and I'm careful to get into all of the joints and the hard to reach places. The weapons get the first covering of gunmetal gray. This is an enjoyable part of the process for me. Starting to take shape and beginning to look like the image that I had in my mind in the beginning. Black wash is applied generously over all of the die-cast metal armor plates. And you can see that has a nice effect of its own to age everything. If I go on a little heavy, I use a Q-tip and dab off any excess. Actually leaves some streaks on purpose. I thought of this idea for some more resin printed parts. This is a dual tank on the back that contains the fuel or energy supply. Use your imagination. And one of the most important touches now is all of the gears and the gizmos and the wiring that come out of my random and eclectic collection of such parts. They're just to give it a sci-fi look. The wires are not neatly hidden as you would in a brand new Aston Martin. They're exposed and bare. Now I'm fitting from the tanks that just went on the back to the power pack on the breastplate some vacuum tubes that transport the nanoparticles and the gamma ray inverters, whatever you want them to be. a head has appeared all of a sudden. I think this was a light socket adapter that kind of looked like a helmet. And I put a socket on the front of it with some more gears and what looks like a minion-looking Cyclops eye on the back. One of the final touches is the Tamiya weathering powders, mostly silver highlights. If you just brush over the edges, it'll pick up and highlight what some of the black wash may have washed out. A subtle difference. Let's have a closer look at all of the stuff that I've added on to this, and yeah, that's what I had envisioned in my mind when I began, and it came pretty close. You remember the Transformer look that I couldn't figure out, and this basic skeleton is what I wanted to use, and I turned it into the Junkasaurus Wrecks. The joints move as they did before, and doesn't transform into anything, but I never intended to go that far. There's some caution tape on the feet, lots of weapons, lots of wires and connections, some serious firepower front and back. And that's my vision of the future of the cyborg world. Leave your respectful comment below, tell me what you think of the Junkasaurus Wrecks, and tell me where you're watching from. And be sure to come back soon, and often. It's coffee time.